The debt ceiling is a limit on the total amount of government borrowing. It was first put in place by Congress during World War I, and it has been raised 78 times since, but in recent years, the debate over the debt ceiling has become more partisan and contentious, leading to several close calls and even a government shutdown, and the debt ceiling is currently set at $31.4 trillion, and it has already been reached. The Treasury Department is using accounting tricks to pay the government's bills, but those will run out by early June. If Congress fails to raise the debt ceiling by then, the U.S. will default on its obligations for the first time in history. A default would have catastrophic consequences for the U.S. economy and global markets. It would mean that the government could not pay its creditors, its employees, its contractors, its Social Security beneficiaries, its veterans, and many others who rely on federal payments. It would also mean that the government could not borrow more money to finance its operations and programs. A default would trigger a financial crisis that could rival or surpass the Great Recession of 2008. It would cause interest rates to spike, stock markets to crash, credit ratings to plummet, and confidence to evaporate. It would also damage America's reputation as a reliable borrower and a global leader. That's why raising the debt ceiling is so important for the U.S. economy and global markets. It's not about authorizing new spending or increasing the debt. It's about honoring the commitments that Congress has already made and avoiding a self-inflicted disaster that would harm millions of Americans and people around the world. The GOP bill to lift the debt ceiling would also impose drastic spending cuts, rescind COVID relief funds, cancel student debt relief, and slash IRS budget. This bill passed the House on Wednesday by a vote of 217 to 215, but it has no chance of passing the Senate or getting Biden's signature. It is a political move by the Republicans to pressure Biden into budget talks and to push for their priorities. One of the main features of the bill is to limit federal spending to $1.47 trillion next year and allow it to grow only 1% annually for the next decade. This would save about $3.2 trillion over 10 years, but it would also reduce spending on many programs that benefit Americans, such as education, health care, infrastructure, and research. The spending caps would not apply to Social Security and Medicare, which are the biggest drivers of the debt. Another provision of the bill is to rescind all unobligated COVID relief money from 6 bills enacted from 2020. This would save only $30 billion, which is less than 1% of the total cost of the 6 bills. The COVID relief money was intended to help individuals, businesses, states, and local governments cope with the pandemic and its economic fallout. Rescinding it could harm the recovery and leave millions of people in need. The bill would also repeal Biden's actions to waive up to $10,000 of student debt for some borrowers and to tie debt repayment to borrowers' incomes. This would save $460 billion over 10 years, but it would also burden millions of students and graduates with high debt and interest payments. The Republicans argue that these programs are unfair to those who did not go to college or have paid off their debts. Finally, the bill would revoke a budget increase for the IRS that was approved by Democrats to boost tax enforcement and modernize technology. This would actually worsen the deficit by $120 billion over 10 years, according to the CBO, because it would reduce the revenue that the IRS could collect from tax evaders and cheats. The Republicans claim that the budget increase would lead to an army of IRS agents harassing Americans. These are some of the ways that the GOP bill to lift the debt ceiling would also impose drastic spending cuts, rescind COVID relief funds, cancel student debt relief, and slash IRS budget. The bill is not a serious proposal to address the debt problem or to avoid a default on U.S. obligations. It is a partisan stunt that puts politics over people and risks a financial crisis.